Good afternoon, students. So this week we are in week 4. So congratulations on making it 1 month into this class. And so what we're going to do in week 4 is that for the week 4 forum, I'm very proud to say that I love the way everybody's been using ChatGPT in order to dress up their narrative essay. And so basically in week 4, I introduce how to use ChatGPT AI. And so many people think that it's unethical to use ChatGPT. But I believe that if you can learn to use ChatGPT and use AI ethically, then it's perfectly fine to use AI. You just have to learn to know when it's okay to use it and when it's not okay to use it. And so in week 4 forum, one way you can use ChatGPT is that you can use it to enrich your writing, to add more descriptive adjectives, food adjectives, in order to bring your reader into the reading. Because the whole purpose of descriptive writing is to paint a picture of whatever it is you're writing about, so that the reader can then experience what it is that you're writing about. And the more you can appeal to all 5 senses, the sense of smell, sense of touch, sense of hearing, then you bring the reader more into your whatever it is that you're writing about. And so far so good. Everybody's done a great job in putting in more food adjectives, metaphors, similes, or even written short stories. And so you can see that ChatGPT is very good at helping you brainstorm ideas, come up with creative stories, come up with story plot twists. If you're writing a book, it helps you brainstorm ideas. When I write a book, I use ChatGPT for book outlines and chapter outlines. And then from there, I'm able to come up with ways in which I can fill in the blanks myself. And so ChatGPT is a great supplement to your writing. And so I tell students that it's okay to use ChatGPT when you are pre-writing, in other words, writing the outline to your paper, or when you're rewriting, and that's when you are doing essay revision. The only time you don't use ChatGPT is to have ChatGPT write the paper for you. Why? Because ChatGPT hallucinates. It still has a tendency to make up its facts or make up its sources. And so it's still better for you to make sure that your sources are genuine and authentic is to go to your school online library to use to get your sources, to find peer-reviewed sources, scholarly sources for your essays. And so that's the main caveat for ChatGPT is you cannot trust ChatGPT for its sources, at least not yet. And so that's week 4, and then in week 5, okay, so that's a big week. Week 5, you have a week 5 quiz, and so you can study the week 5 quiz on, I believe it's sentence structure. And if you go under modules and expectations, you will find all the different chapters that you need to read for each week. And so I sent you your week 5 quiz test guide in the email, not only in the welcome email, but also recently in announcements. So make it a habit to always check your announcements for the latest news about when I have a Zoom, when I send in quiz notes, and always study your quiz notes before you take your week 5 quiz. For the week 5 test guide just gives you examples of what to expect on your quiz. So this helps you study your textbook because then you know what the questions will be like, and then you know what to study for. And another thing that I tell students is that you should use index cards and write down the definitions of all the underlined and bolded words in the textbook, and then write down the definition exactly as your textbook has it, because that's how you'll be tested. And not just in my class, but in all of your classes. And I know you're going to think, well, that's so time-consuming is to write down every single definition on a card, but it really helps you learn it. That way, when you are sitting in a car, sitting in a bus, waiting for the doctor, and you can just look through your index cards to learn your definitions. So let's say you're in an anatomy class and you have to learn the different parts of the body. You should write it all down on index cards. I do believe they even sell flashcards. Okay, some places will sell flashcards or index cards that already have all the different parts of the body written on it. You can Google and Amazon that, since so many medical students are all studying body anatomy. You could always see if someone has already made, flashcards for it. And so in week 5, for the week 5 forum, you are going to post your rough draft of your narrative essay. So you need to post the rough draft, a 5-paragraph. It's the same thing that you're writing for the week 4 rough draft assignment. So basically what you're doing is you're following the writing process. Remember, the writing process is pre-writing, in which you write an outline. So that's week 2. Then the second stage is writing the rough draft, which is your week 4 assignment. And then your week 6 assignment is rewriting, where you incorporate all the feedback from students and from myself into your final draft for your week 6 assignment. So for my Fortis College students, that's week 2, week 4, week 6. And for my LAPU students, that's week 1, week 3, week 5. You two are also following the writing process, just different weeks. In any case, so for my Fortis students, week 5 forum, you need to post the rough draft of your paper by Wednesday of week 5. That gives other students time to give feedback. And this is going to be your first peer review forum in week 5. So I've given you in the announcements a PowerPoint called What is Peer Review? So I highly recommend that you read that PowerPoint so that you get to know how to do a peer review. I also made a video as well. So if you go to the Professor H Writing channel and you Google week 3 instructor session, what is a peer review? You could also watch me give a lecture on the very same PowerPoint that I sent you in the announcements. It's the same thing. For some people, it's much easier to just read the PowerPoint. Like myself, I can read the PowerPoint, somebody else's PowerPoint, faster than if I listen to their video. So for some people who are visual learners, you can read the PowerPoint, what is a peer review, in the announcements. And for those of you who are more audio learners, then you can watch the video. So it's all up to you how you learn to do it. Because from now on, week 5, week 6, week 7, all the way up to week 12, they will all be peer review forums where you're going to post some kind of rough draft or some kind of outline or something into or an entire essay into your forums. And then everybody, when you post it to students, you're going to look over someone's paper and you're going to check for essay structure, grammar, punctuation, and tone. And so another way to use ChatGPT is for essay revision. And so you go to ChatGPT and you can use ChatGPT to help you with your peer review, for the peer review forum, for peer review revision. And you use this prompt. Give essay feedback on grammar, punctuation, essay structure. I will repeat that again. Give essay feedback on grammar, punctuation, tone, essay structure. And then you cut and paste that person's essay into ChatGPT, and then you don't put in the name, and then you press submit, and then instantly you will get a peer review or a essay feedback of that person's essay. Now, the beauty of all of this is that once you learn how to use ChatGPT for peer review, for essay revision, you can use ChatGPT to revise your own paper in other classes. So let's say you write something for a psychology class, and you look at your paper and you go, is this a good paper? Did I do a good job? And you're not very sure. Then you can upload your paper to ChatGPT and use that very same prompt. You would write, give essay feedback on grammar, punctuation, essay structure, and tone. And then you cut and paste your paper without your name and school, and then ChatGPT will then give you and tell you all your mistakes. You can also use Grammarly for the same thing. Okay, Grammarly also gives essay revision feedback as well. And so that's one of the good things, because Grammarly has a similar function. Grammarly AI has a similar function to ChatGPT. So you can use whichever AI you're most comfortable with. Whether you want to use ChatGPT, you could use Gemini, you can use Bard. Those are just some examples of other AI that you can use. You can even use Meta AI. Okay, so there's many different kinds of AI tools that you can use in order for you to do essay revision. So that's week 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in a nutshell. Let me take a look at my list to make sure I've got everything. Oh, and so sentence structure. Okay, so that's something I'm good. This will take a while, so that's why I had to look down to make sure I finished all the other shorter topics first. Sentence structure. There are 3 kinds of sentences in English. Now, I will do a much more complete lesson. If you go to Professor H Writing Channel, Professor H Writing Channel, and I give a whole spiel on sentence structure. Here, I'm just going to give you a kind of 5-minute, run through, so you get a basic overall overview of what the basic sentence structure. I'll try to do it in 5 minutes. That's quite a challenge for me because I talk so much. Anyway, so sentence structure. So in English, you have 3 kinds of sentences. You have simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, and compound complex sentences. And so the first kind of sentence, simple sentence, is simply subject, verb, object. So if I say John, subject, eats, verb, steak. John eats steak. So then you have subject plus verb plus object. So that is a simple sentence. So that's the easiest sentence you can have in English. And the second kind of sentence is a compound sentence. And the compound sentence is when you have 2 independent clauses joined together with a coordinating conjunction. Fanboys. For and, but, nor, or, so, yet. So that's all fanboys. And those are coordinating conjunctions. So for example, John eats steak, but Mary eats salad. So that's but is one of the fanboys. For, and, nor, but, or, nor, so, yet. And so that any sentences, when you put 2 sentences together with a coordinating conjunction, that is a compound sentence. And the word compound simply means 2 sentences. And then you have to separate those 2 sentences with a comma. So if I say John eats steak, comma, but Mary eats salad. So that is a compound sentence. The third kind of sentence in English is a complex sentence. A complex sentence is when a dependent clause is joined together with a independent clause. So a dependent clause cannot stand alone. A dependent clause is a sentence fragment. So if I say, while John eats steak, that is a dependent clause. Because if I say, while John eats steak, that's not a complete thought. So how do I make a dependent clause? We use a subordinate conjunction, while. So there's a whole list of subordinating conjunctions. So you can Google subordinating conjunctions. And every time you use a subordinating conjunction, you create a dependent clause. Then in order to make the complex sentence complete, you have to add an independent clause, and then you put the 2 together. Dependent clause plus independent clause. An independent clause is a complete thought. It's a complete sentence. So when I put the 2 of them together, while John eats steak, Mary eats salad. Wait a minute. Isn't that the same thing as John eats steak, but Mary eats salad? No. The difference between a compound sentence and a complex sentence is that if I say, while John eats steak, remember that's the dependent clause. That's less important than Mary eats salad. So when you read a complex sentence, it becomes, while John eats steak, Mary eats salad. So that when you have a complex sentence, one sentence is less important while another sentence is more important. So when a writer wants to emphasize a particular sentence for effect in his writing, they would use a complex sentence to make a point. So while John eats steak, Mary eats salad, which is way healthier than eating steak, for instance. Whereas if I use a compound sentence, John eats steak, but Mary eats salad, those two sentences are of equal significance. See, that's the difference between using a compound sentence and a complex sentence. And so, well, why would you want to know that difference? If you're a writer and you want to make a certain emphasis or effect in your writing, you would want to use the complex sentence. If you just want to say that one fact is just as equal as another fact, as in writing a science paper, for instance, you would use a compound sentence. So it all depends on the purpose of your writing. And this is one of the reasons why you learn certain sentence structure so that you can manipulate your writing in order to manipulate the emotions of your reader. And so remember that you, the writer, you have the power to make the reader cry, make the reader laugh, make the reader feel joy. And that's the power that a writer has over his readership. This is why a lot of writers love to write, because you create that universe. And so those are the three main sentences of sentence structure. And I won't go into, if you want a much more longer version, which I just did a very, very short, I think I did it within 5 minutes. I doubt it, but anyway, and in a nutshell, that is sentence structure. So for future videos, if you want me to explain a very short grammar, like I just did, a kind of micro grammar lesson, you just email me and say, well, I don't quite understand subject-verb agreement. Can you give a micro like you just did with the sentence structure? Can you give a video about that? So if there are any grammar topics that I could talk about in 5 minutes, just email me, and then I will, just off the top of my head, I'll give you a micro grammar lesson. You can also come to my weekly office hours, which is always the same time. I'm always here at 4:30 Eastern and on Wednesdays, and you can come on board and then say, oh, can you explain a micro 5-minute, what is subject-verb agreement, or what is sentence structure, or what is parallel structure, or whatever it is that confuses you. So let's say you got the question. You can also, if you also get confused about grammar concepts, you can also use ChatGPT, although I think I give much better grammar lessons than ChatGPT. You still need humans after all. Anyway, but besides that, so you can show up during my office hours and ask me, in person, or you can email me and say, during your lectures, your weekly lectures, can you explain to me what is parallel structure, or what is whatever it is that you want to learn? Or you could say, well, in an upcoming quiz, I have to learn X, Y, and Z, but I don't understand it. A lot of students want to ask about APA. So we can also go over your APA papers from other classes as well. So because my specialty is in writing and grammar, so and APA for that matter. So if you have questions or trouble with your writing assignments, you can also, that's what students have done in the past. If you watch my past writing videos, you will see students pop up. And I once had a whole 12-week class where every week 2 or 3 of the same students would come to me to ask about how to do their psychology paper, their biology paper, their chemistry paper. I think we once wrote about enzymes for one class. That one I remember is describe an enzyme and how to use it and stuff like that. So, and you think that the 5-paragraph essay is only just for this English class. You're wrong. The 5-paragraph essay structure is used across anything you write, from your email to your business letter to all the different papers you're going to write for psychology, chemistry, biology. That's the reason why most schools require students to take English 101 first before they take their content classes, So that way, when the psychology teacher tells you to write your psychology paper, they assume you already know your APA. You already know how to write a paragraph. You already know how to write a 5-paragraph essay because you were required to take English 101 first for that reason, you see. Then you can focus on learning psychology and not have to worry about, oh, do my paragraphs make sense? You're supposed to already know that by the time you take your content classes. Anyway, and this English 101 is the very first class most students take in order to refresh themselves and make the transition from high school to college. So that's why I tell students, don't worry if you can't remember your grammar or remember how to write an essay, or if that was like 5 decades ago. Yes, I had a student 5 decades ago take my class. She actually had grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and she was one of my oldest students. Anyway, and she graduated too with honors. So if you have any questions, if I left anything out, and I hope I didn't because I wrote it all down, or week 4 sentence structure, week 5, yeah, that about does it. And so if you have any questions about any of the assignments that I just described for week 4 and week 5, feel free to email me at any time. And if you like this video, you can subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to the Professor H Writing channel.